So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land. But the magicians did the same things by their secret arts. They also made frogs come up on the land of Egypt. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Pray to the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people, and I'll let your people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord." Yes, he now knows, although he is Pharaoh, there is the Lord. The God of the Israelites is the Lord. Temporary acknowledgement of God. Is that what you are? You live a life of sometimes you're acknowledging God, sometimes you are not. Sometimes you are worshiping God, sometimes you are not. When you're in trouble, you cry to God. When the trouble goes, you no longer trust in God. You no longer need Him. You do things your own way. That's what you're going to see out of Pharaoh. In trouble, he's crying to God. Do you really know God? Do you really love God? Do you really see that you need God for your life, and that your life cannot work out without Him, and that it is in your own interest to worship and obey Him? Or do you just come to Him so that you are rescued out of problems? The story goes on. Pharaoh has asked for relief. He has given in finally. So Moses is pleased and willing to go back to God on behalf of Pharaoh, of all things. So in Exodus chapter 8, verse 12 to 15, we read, "After Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh, Moses cried out to the Lord about the frogs he had brought on Pharaoh. And the Lord did what Moses asked. The frogs died in the houses and in the courtyards and in the fields." Yeah, God listens to Moses' prayer, and now he acts on behalf of Pharaoh. Isn't that wonderful to know that God can act on behalf of the witches? God can act on behalf of the people doing the wrong things. Because He is not just a God of the Christians, He's a God of the universe. And even those who don't acknowledge Him, the people who call themselves atheists, you need to understand He is still their God. So if they cry to God, He will answer in them. Sometimes we feel terrible that somebody who is a terrible sinner, whatever you call terrible sin, can cry to God and God hears the prayers. Moses is crying on behalf of a terrible guy, a tyrant, but God hears. I think that's one of the things you need to be aware of. It does not matter how much you have disappointed God. It does not matter that you have fallen off from the grace of God. If you cry to God, He is going to cleanse you from all the wrong you have done and experience His goodness. So, and the Lord did what Moses asked. The verse goes on. The frogs died in the houses, in the courtyard, and in the fields. But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said. What drama! What tragic drama! Pharaoh is playing with the God like you can play with What do you play with? Promising a girl heavens when you have no idea whether you will get it. That's what he's doing. He's not conscious that who he is dealing with, that God can see his heart. Is that the way we deal with God? We go to prayer and we utter very pious prayers, very holy prayers. But in our heart of hearts, nothing much has changed. Sometimes you need prayers, so you talk to the pastor like you have really converted. But all you want is to manipulate God. You imagine you can actually manipulate God. But in the end, nothing much happens. The frogs actually died. He actually got the relief. He saw that what the magicians could not do, God could do through Moses. But then he did a balance sheet. Losing all the labor? No. I will not keep my word. So the verse says, but when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said. Isn't it important to understand the goodness of the Lord? It's Hosea who talking about his wife. Of course, it's God talking about Israel, about how she will get things from her husband, provide everything, then she takes the things she got from her husband to give to the people she's prostituting with. And it sounds like that's what we do. God does good to us. Then we take the goodness of God